Greetings and welcome to another edition of the Ad Astra Kansas Money Talks podcast. I'm Joe Blubaugh and joined as always by Mark Johnson and Bob Schwartz of Bob Schwartz Financial. You can find out more about them on their website at bobschwartzfinancial.com. And they also have offices in Victoria, Kansas, as well as Silver Lake, Kansas, where we are recording today. We're going to talk a little bit about some end-of-year tax and investing planning. We're recording this, and it'll air right around the end of November, first part of December, so an excellent opportunity to start thinking about some of those things. Before we get started on that, though, if you could, give us the thumbs up, subscribe, do all those things. We really would appreciate that. That way you know when we put out a new episode, and you can check in with us once a week as we try to publish these weekly. As I mentioned, we're going to talk a little bit about some end-of-year tax and investing considerations. Every year there's a few changes. I mean, Bob, has there ever been a year in your 50-plus years of doing this that there hasn't been a change to at least some kind of change with inflation on the amount you can deduct, the amount you can, all the different kind of minute changes there.
It's become about, every couple of years now, yeah.
Yeah. And then so we'll talk about that, and then we'll talk about some things that are probably good to do at the end of the year. Let's focus a little bit on taxes first. If you've got a little bit of time, if you're seeing this and it's before December the 31st, you still have time to add a little bit extra into your 401k for the year. A little bit more difficult to do that at this point, but if you want to bring your tax liability down, you could up your withholding a little bit. And I'm sure you've seen that at times where somebody will make a change just for a couple of paychecks where they take a lot out.
In December you can take out your whole paycheck. That's the maximum that you could do. But if you can also go do an IRA on the outside if your income's not too high, which is excellent also.
Now, with the IRA, you have until April the 15th, is that correct, of the following year?
You don't need to do that by the end of the year,
right.
Correct.
Yep, so you can definitely do some things like that. One of the things that is more of a more recent development, but is a really good instrument, is a health savings account. If you have the ability to have a health savings account, meaning you have a high deductible insurance plan, you have until you can make contributions to your health savings account.
Yeah.
If you haven't maxed it out,
yeah,
do it.
Yeah, and if you have the capacity to do it. I think a lot of people don't. The one thing with health savings is there's not a ton of people that have the ability to have a high deductible plan, especially if you have a family and are on a family plan, for example. But the way insurance rates are going, people are getting on high deductible plans.
Unfortunately, a lot of people buy the high deductible plan because it fits into their family's budget, but they don't have any money to fit into the. But if you have any, it's a fantastic place to put
if you're
money.
a healthy adult that's on a high deductible plan, that's your kids are not on the same type of deal. And
Let's take a few minutes to talk about the health savings account because it is very powerful. I hear it always talk about triple tax advantaged, and like we said, not everybody is allowed to have a health savings account. I don't have a high deductible insurance plan, therefore I do not have a health savings account. Right. I wish I could, but if you do, those things really do fit hand in glove because the whole thought behind it is you have a high deductible plan, which could mean you could have some fairly large out-of-pocket expenses, or you're paying for most everything. So you're paying for your visits to the doctor, and that needs to come out of your pocket. Well, the thought behind the savings account is you put money into that regularly, and you can then withdraw from that to pay for those visits if you would like. And the money going into that health savings account it's deductible, right? There's no tax when you take it out of the account as long as you're using it for a qualified expense, healthcare expense, and it grows tax-free as well.
And I think the one thing the real powerful thing in the health savings account is if you can start investing, you get money in there, you invest it, and you let it grow, and you don't
Don't
have
use
to
it.
use it.
Yeah.
Right.
So average family, I mean, not average family, but let's say a family that has great health,
Yeah.
you know, which most people, you know, how many times did you have a healthcare event last year?
My whole family.
Yeah.
Me, none.
None.
Family,
Two.
maybe 3 or 4.
Okay.
And that's
And-
just kids getting sick.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
going to the doctor.
Going to the doctor.
Yeah, and minor med or whatever,
Yeah,
just
whatever.
so you can get in.
Yeah.
So let's take a family like that, and let's say they have the capacity. How much can you put in a year now? Used to be 5,200, but that was back in my day.
You know, it's-
You guys keep talking and I will look that up.
So if you can put that money away and invest it, and all of a sudden your children are 20 and still on your plan, but you've had minor med every year,
Yeah.
and you're still a young man and you're still very healthy, you can have a lot of money sitting in there growing tax-free.
yeah.
Okay, so the 2025 contribution limit for a single person is $4,300, and for a family is $8,550.
Okay.
$8,550, yeah.
8,500. Now, I had that. My wife stopped working at the hospital for when we had our youngest son, and so we were eligible for a healthcare savings account. We bought a high deductible, and we had that for probably 4 years. Well, that money we used one time because I didn't know what I was doing, and we used it for our son's braces. But other than that, we've never touched it.
And I think that that's an important consideration for somebody that, like, if you think health savings account and you're used to that cafeteria plan that you had through work, you had to use it in that year.
Right.
But with the health savings account, it's a totally different vehicle. You do not need to use it in that given tax year, and it can literally grow for 30, 40 years. Just keep your receipts. And, 40 years down the road, you can go back and say, hey, I've got this receipt from 2025,
I'm
and
going to cash it in.
cash it in at that point.
And a couple other points there. First of all, not going to the doctor right now. None. I guarantee you when you're my age, you'll be going to the doctor.
Yeah.
And if you have an HSA, you could use it. And if you don't need to use it, it can sit there and it can be used for long term. And what do we talk with every client about? That's
Long-term care.
yeah.
You're probably going to be in it.
Yeah, and if you have an HSA and you've been blessed enough not to use it, and you've had it invested over a long period of time, you're going to have assets there that you can use tax-free for long-term care.
I will ask a question because I've actually never seen this, Bob. But what happens to a HSA with leftover? Like both you and the spouse die. What's
Hi, kids. Pay taxes.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I knew the answer, I guess.
Yeah.
I shouldn't ask the question.
Yeah. No, it's a great question.
But can it stay in an HSA, I guess is my question.
You know what?
Yeah, 'cause
I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know.
Joe's going to tell us here in about
Yeah.
30
That's right.
seconds.
Yeah, 'cause-
But that's a good point. My assumption would be is that money has to come out.
That's what I thought too.
It would be very hard not to spend that for most situations that we would be aware of with our client base, that somebody would have that much money in one.
Yeah, I agree 100%. That's why that situation has never occurred.
Right,
Yeah.
right. It's never even been asked, but yeah.
So I'm looking at the results of my research here, and it depends, as always. If it's a spouse and the spouse was on the HSA, that's an important
okay.
consideration.
Yeah.
It stays there, obviously. That makes sense. If it is a non-spouse beneficiary, it ceases to be an HSA at the date of death, and the entire fair market value of the HSA becomes a taxable ordinary income. So, but that's the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
That's not a bad
And
worst case
that's not
scenario.
a bad case scenario,
Right.
Because that means you didn't need it.
Right, exactly.
Which is pretty, so it's like leaving an IRA.
Right. Once again, it's not like your cafeteria plan that you're used to at work, where if you don't touch it, it just goes poof. It does pass down to your heirs.
The bad thing about an HSA is, first of all, people don't listen when they go to group meetings. Everyone I've been involved with, when I've been somewhere where, like with my wife, when at the hospital, when there'd be 200 people sitting in at a meeting, 195 of the 200 people are, they open up their mouth and say, health insurance, and they want to know what the cheapest premium is, and then they're done. Somebody stands up and says life insurance, they all quit listening. Somebody stands up and says you have a 403B or 401K, 150 of the people quit listening. I don't want to know about that.
Yeah.
But that's a long time away. And people need to pay attention, because there are things that you can do that Uncle Sam has given us that we can have an advantage. And if you don't take care of that advantage, then you become, and we become, well, we pay so much in taxes. Yeah, it's because we didn't pay attention. We didn't want to know about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's me being an old man, get out of my yard.
no, but I agree with that statement of the, I got my property taxes in the mail. I'm sure you guys did too. Or
Yeah.
But it's interesting, because then, I get on Facebook and there are all these people complaining about all these things, and there was one person that was on there and was like, well, I went to every meeting and I tried to talk and I tried to, what you're complaining, what did you do?
Right.
And there's something that's the same thing with your money. It's like, yeah, I'm paying all these taxes. Well, did you take advantage of all the loopholes along the way that you
Right.
could have taken
Right.
advantage of?
And have you checked what you're paying to have, maybe in your 401K, you've got a target date portfolio. Do you know how much more you're paying for that target date than if you were invested outside of that target date? No. They just said to pick what year I wanted to retire, what decade, right?
Yeah.
And as an ex-teacher, those first 2 days of in-service, when I used to come into the school and talk, before your time at the school, you could just see people's eyes glass over. I don't want to talk about retirement.
Yeah, I get my pension. That's
Right.
right.
I got capers. Yeah, I got capers. I'm not going to need anything else besides capers, am I? And
Well, just talk about an underserved
Yeah.
job field of no one came in. If Bob, I saw you, I guess, come and talk to people, but other than that, I saw no other representative ever trying to talk to people about, hey, here's other ways to get ahead. Our superintendent plugged Capers 457 to me, and that was the only thing that got me kind of going on something else besides my pension. And so, yeah, I don't know. It's sad, because I'm sure teaching is not the only field where that's a problem.
Well, I think the point here is your company has when I was 25 years old, I was exactly the same way. They go, well, we're having a meeting and everybody's got to go, and I'd be like, well, it's the last thing I want to do. I've got to get this done, and they're going to make me go sit at this meeting. Don't look at it that way. They're having that meeting because they're going to tell you what you can and cannot do and what your options are. Yeah. And don't look at the cheapest health care and go, that's what I'm going to get. And not put a dime into your HSA.
Yeah. So we've kind of got off the rails a little bit there, but that's fine. Good conversation, always. One of the areas where taxes and investing kind of cross, and they cross in a lot of places, but there's a term out there called tax loss harvesting, and now is a good opportunity to take a look at, not every year are you going to have winner after winner. Sometimes you got some losers in there as well. And maybe you can, one of you could kind of talk a little bit about what tax loss harvesting is and why it's important to pay attention to that.
So first of all, there's not, just because something's down in your portfolio doesn't mean that you should just dump it. For a lot of people, that's not how we really want to think as long-term investors, because that might be an asset that's just looked down upon at the time. But sometimes, if let's say you have a large capital gain, I don't know, give me some examples of selling.
Sold a piece of property, sold a rental property, sold a stock, and made a profit on it.
Yeah, and you had to sell it. That's an easy one. You sold some other stocks that you had a big gain in because you wanted, you're doing something, and one of the best ways to offset it is with a loss. So you can sell that and then take a tax write-off off of those losses up to $3,000 a year
I think those will carry on
for, I think it's
5 years.
Yeah, 5 years.
5 years.
Right.
And the key thing is so where have we used that at? Where have we found great value in that? With some high net worth clients that have had some larger capital gains, hey, we're underwater in XYZ company. We're going to go ahead and sell that so you get that $3,000 loss to put on against that gain. Now, that doesn't make a whole lot of difference if the gains, they sold a piece of ground that they paid $50 an acre for, and $3,000 is not going to make that big great of a difference. But if somebody sold something they made $10,000 on, that can make a difference for them. Tax loss harvesting is way oversold sometimes as, we're going to do that for you. Well, that only works in non-qualified money.
Yep.
It doesn't work in an IRA or a Roth or anything like that. But it can be used to help people that have situations where they have capital gains.
It's a really fun buzzword though.
Yeah.
So you'll hear it a lot.
Yeah.
But it's cool. It's a cool factor for the people that it can benefit. But it is I wouldn't say it's a super common thing that the everyday investor is seeing.
Let's take a great company. Let's just think of whatever company, if you're listening to this, that you think's a great company, and let's say they're down 10% this year, and you had $30,000 in your non-qualified account in that company, and it's down $3,000. We're not going to sell that because it's down $3,000 because it's still a great company, unless you've had a large capital gain to offset that.
Here, let me put this up on a T for you. But what if I want to come to you and say, hey, I'm down 10% on this $30,000 investment. There's $3,000. I really like the company, so I don't want to sell it. So how about you sell it and then just buy it right back for me, and I realize that 10% loss?
Yeah, we can do that. We can do it 30 days later.
30 days
we have
later.
to wait.
31 days later.
Yeah, or 31 days.
And that's called a wash sale. You can't.
Yeah.
That's a.
But in some cases, Joe, you can purchase let's. I don't want to. We can't say companies' names. But
Let's say you have two IT companies that do almost exactly the same thing.
You could sell one and buy the other one, and probably if anything happens in the next 30 days, they'll be pretty identical in their movement. But you do take the risk of a market bump. But you also have the opportunity. You might buy it 30 days later, cheaper.
Yeah.
So
the main thing is where I was going with that is you can't just sell a stock to realize the loss and then immediately buy it back.
Right.
The IRS says no. You have to wait at least 30 days.
Can we talk about where capital gains and tax like that bite you in the rear end?
Of course.
Mutual funds. Mutual funds have to pay their capital gains, if they have any, every year. There are mutual funds that will pay out to some of our clients an absolute small fortune to them this year, and they will have to pay taxes on that as a long-term capital gain. We avoid that by not investing that way. But in those cases where somebody's getting, let's say, a $60,000 capital gain, like this year, we won't have a tax loss harvesting opportunity, probably, but if we have some, we're going to use them for those folks, because mutual funds, capital gains, taxes, and people will go, I don't want to sell that mutual fund. I've had it for 30 years. That's why we have clients that have it. Well, they really don't get a step up when they pass away, because they've already paid taxes on most of it. For instance, we had a $700,000 mutual fund account come in this year. This family's basis in that fund, and they hadn't put very much money in it, but their basis was over $600,000 because they've paid taxes on it already. Yep. If they would have owned a basket of individual stocks, they would not have had to pay any taxes, and this family's not going to spend a penny of it. They don't need to, and their kids are going to inherit. Their kids are going to get a stepped-up basis. Mom and Dad didn't have to pay all that. If you're sitting on a mutual fund that you've had for a long time, you need to talk to an advisor that says, hey, let's not reinvest it. Let's take it in cash, take your taxes out so you can pay them, and then let us do what we do to escape that problem in the future.
And if you love that mutual fund, if that's something that you're in love with, guess what? That same company has an ETF that does the same thing.
that they don't tell you about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about required minimum distributions. Most people realize that when you hit a certain age, if you have some haven't been taxed yet money out there, the government's going to say you have to take a certain amount out and pay taxes on it. That's the government's way of making sure that they're going to get tax dollars on invested money. But this sneaks up on people every year. And it depends on your age. I think it's 73 now for somebody my age, and of course Mark's age. It's going to change to 75, so you need to check to see which applies to your situation. But you're required to take a minimum distribution, and it has to be taken by December 31st, I believe, correct?
Correct.
Yep.
So, yeah, a couple of points there that I think are very, very important is I wouldn't be surprised if by the time Mark is my age, it's 80. Because two reasons. We're living longer, and Congress sees how poorly prepared Americans are to retire. And I don't mean that. I'm not casting a net all over everybody in this country. But as a whole, 50% of the people in this country that are hitting retirement age don't have enough money.
Well, and that I think just goes, we've talked about this a ton, but we've went from everyone has a pension, everyone's set up, to now where we've now lived long enough to where all these people are retiring that it was kind of on them. Your 401k is on you. Your Roth, your traditional is on you.
Yep.
And some people did not do the research or did not participate in those things that the government, which we talked about, the government set up for you, and now we are ill prepared.
The government set up for you because corporate America said, these pensions cost us a lot of money and we want to make more profit.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. But our parents, my parents, your grandparents, in you guys' case, they didn't have to sit and worry about retirement not every day, but at the front part of their brain when they turn 50 going, it's right around the corner. What do I have to do? My parents, your grandparents, they had pensions. And they knew that when they retired, they were going to get a check every month from Social Security and so when they did that, what they have to do to Social Security the last 35 years? Break it.
Right.
Because they had to raise the benefit so much to help Americans. And then secondly, people were going into 401k meetings going, I hate meetings.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm not going to listen.
Well, and the other thing to keep in mind, both with pensions and Social Security, the concept of pensions, the concept of Social Security, they're annuities, and they were all designed for people that weren't. The average life expectancy was not nearly as high as it is now. So
exactly.
Yeah. So you're going to have to adjust as people live longer. They're just not solvent if you don't adjust.
We talk about this. This is of being a certified financial planner and being a fiduciary advisor. This is the golden age. I've never seen it like this. Why? Because we're needed so badly in this environment. When I started in this industry at a very young age, if we sat down with a couple that were 60 and older, if they had $50,000 in a CD, they were in great shape. The CD was paying 12%. They were getting a Social Security check, and they were getting a pension check. They were letting that $50,000 sit there and grow at $6,000 a year, and watching that $50,000 turn into $100,000 with no risk. And then all of a sudden, what happened?
And they bought their $12,000 house.
Yeah.
It was already paid for in 3 years.
And why? Yeah. What are you doing borrowing money for a house? Exactly what my mother said to me. What are you doing borrowing money for a house? Mom, I don't have that much money. Well, your dad and I paid for our house in the first year. Well, yeah, you paid $2,000 for it in 1927, whatever year it was.
Yep.
So, people need to understand what happened and why you have to pay attention to your money now, because we have people walking in all the time with well over $1 million of invested assets, which is wonderful. We have so much more for people that paid attention, so much more than our parents had. and our grandparents had. And that's phenomenal. But everybody else, if you're not there, you need to start paying attention. It's not too late, but get your rear sitting down with somebody like us that can talk to you about how do we get where we need to be at in 5 years or 10 years.
You know, when we talk, I guess we're a little off RMDs, but what ends up happening is you're like, oh crap, I don't know what to do. I freak out. I go to some random seminar. I get a free dinner from. They talk about this really cool thing that they can do for me that's going to guarantee this awesome.
It's going to make me feel good.
Yep, and it's going to be 100%
no risk.
safe. And you end up paying a super high commission for something that you know nothing about, super complicated, and you don't even take advantage of the things it has.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Amen.
Yeah, and just to put a bow on the RMD piece of this, I didn't know this, but I'm kind of reading here. 25% penalty if you don't take the RMD.
Right.
You don't want to mess those up.
Right.
That's a big one.
Yeah. Well, we've never had an adverse effect happen, but we have had clients miss them. Not because of us, but
Right.
we've had them miss them, and but I've never seen that assessed. If you have that happen, or that has happened to you, and you haven't corrected it, just go take what that would have been and make a good effort to correct it. And I've never seen anything negative happen. The key thing you want your RMD to be is you want to have enough when you're doing your RMD to go, how much money do I want to give to my church? How much extra do I want to give? Because you can, that's when you know, that's when you can go, my plan worked.
And actually, we're kind of running out of time on this episode. So one last topic I want to talk about, and then maybe we'll think about on our next episode, following up on some of the other parts on maybe the investing side. But as we kind of wrap a bow on the taxation side of things, you mentioned it, charitable giving. Now is the time. If you're, with the standard deduction, a lot of charitable giving doesn't bubble up to what it once did. We used to always take a deduction for our charitable giving, but now we have the standard deduction, so we don't do that anymore.
Most people don't reach it, yeah.
However, if you have reached, and I think it's 70 and a half, right?
Yeah.
You can do a qualified charitable distribution. And if you kind of couple that with your RMD, which you don't have to take till 73, but let's say you meet both of those, you can, let's say that your RMD is $5,000 that year. That's what you have to take out for your RMD. And you give $5,000 to a charity every year anyway.
Yeah.
Don't take that RMD and then pay taxes on that and then give the money to the church. Skip the middleman, which of course would be you, and send that money through a qualified charitable distribution directly from your investment vehicle to the nonprofit.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
And you don't have to pay the taxes on it. They don't have to pay any taxes on it. And you have made your RMD for the year.
Really, just the easiest way to think about it is when you turn 70 and a half, do your charitable giving through your IRA if you have a traditional IRA. Because it's going to offset your, original. You're going to have to take this out in 3 years. Might as well get rolling and take some of that principal down.
Right. Yeah.
That's tax free.
Yeah.
It's a lot of our clients, any of our clients that give, use the QCDs that if they're over 70 and a half, because they make so much sense.
Right.
It's amazing how many people aren't even aware of it. Good job today, Joe. You kept us off topic the whole time.
Well, hey, before we wrap this up though, because there is one other thing, because we've already talked about it a little bit. So if you've got individual stocks that are in a non-qualified account, so a brokerage account, you can actually gift some of those highly appreciated stocks to also avoid the capital gains taxes.
Amen.
So let's say that you have a company, maybe that's is a certain kind of fruit, and you bought it a long time ago, and it's worth quite a bit of money, and you don't want to, pay the taxes on that, and you want to give that. The charity will get a stepped up value and they
Well,
don't
charity
have
gets it tax-free.
tax-free as well. Yeah, that makes
so,
sense.
So we've had this done. Somebody can give $100,000 worth of stock that maybe they've got an $80,000 gain in. They can give that to a charity. Charity gets $100,000. They don't pay any taxes on it. They just took an $80,000 capital gain off the plate.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Pretty
very,
cool.
very
Yep,
powerful.
it's
Charitable giving, if you're charitably inclined anyway, and instead of realizing the gain, paying the taxes, and then giving it, there are ways to cut out that middleman. Just
Right.
keep that in mind,
Exactly.
and definitely keep that in mind before the end of the year as well, if you're in that situation. So we've kind of hit the end of the episode here. We'll kind of stop there, and hopefully next week we'll maybe think about continuing on with end of year discussion as well. Once again, if you're watching us on YouTube, give us a thumbs up and subscribe. We'd really appreciate that. Rating is always be great on your favorite podcast platform. It really helps with the algorithm. We would appreciate that. And of course, if you would like to find out more information about these gentlemen and the services they provide, bobschwartzfinancial.com is the best place to find that information. We are recording this right before the holidays, so I think we'll take this opportunity to wish everybody a very happy Thanksgiving and a blessed holiday season. And until next time, thank you very much for watching.
Thank you.
Thank you.